Thank you and welcome to the show for today. You're watching Perspectives and I am host Alana McLaughlin. This morning on the show I have Reggie D. Ford, a local public speaker, author, mental health advocate, and two-time Vanderbilt University alum, here to discuss his background, his education, the work that he does here in our local community, and ultimately the impact that he seeks to leave through this work. Reggie, thank you for joining me this morning.
Thank you so much for having me, Alana. I appreciate you.
I want to get into this first segment by talking about just baby Reggie years.
Yeah.
Set that up for me. Where are you from? Kind of what did childhood look like? And set up those early years.
Yeah, definitely. So I am a Nashville native. I'm a unicorn, hiding my horn right now. But born and raised here, East Nashville was where I spent most of my childhood growing up. I've been all over the town though, from east, south, Antioch, west. I've been all over the city. And so I've really gotten to see the city grow up, blossom and bloom. And when I think about baby Reggie was a bright, smiling little baby. He was born to some young parents who, with that, needed a village to help raise me. And I think the village poured into me from aunts, uncles, cousins, grandparents. I had, my grandparents were amazing. And so a lot of support, a lot of help throughout some difficult times throughout my childhood. But I think that, you know, there was so much love poured into me and people saw things in me that I didn't even see in myself from early on. And it's allowed me to still be pushing to this day. So yeah, it's been great.
Yeah, man. Now tell me, I want to actually examine that childhood.
Yeah.
So any of the challenges or some of the challenges you may have faced during that period, kind of how that village helped you through.
Yeah.
Take me through that.
Yeah, so I would say growing up in poverty is a hard thing. And poverty shaped a lot of the way that I looked at the world, a way that I needed resources that I didn't have and things that I wanted to have fun with and didn't have. And so, you know, where I probably would have turned to, you know, taking some candy when I wanted, it was people, you know, telling me right and wrong, giving me guidance there. And then I talk a lot about mental health, and that became a big part of my life later on in life. But looking back at the childhood, looking at childhood trauma and trauma that is faced as a young person, whether it be, we call it sometimes big T trauma, little T trauma. I like, it's trauma.
Yeah.
It's how we felt it, it's how we experienced
Yeah.
it. And so, I mean, when I look at, if you know anything about adverse childhood experiences, I have a score of 10 out of 10 on the ACEs study. And so a lot of, you know, household dysfunction, a lot of violence, a lot of scary things for a child to go through, but then normalize and build this resilience to continue pushing. I think that it's kind of the double-edged, well, it was a good thing and a bad thing at the same time. And so built resilience, but also some things that I needed to address later on.
Heck yeah.
Yeah.
And now take me through kind of your schooling experiences. Tell me some of the schools that you attended, just some of the impacts that they may have had on you, and take me through that, that Metro Nashville Public School experience.
Yeah, let's go. So elementary school, I was at Inglewood. And I don't think I started Inglewood, but you know, some of my secret passcodes are the other schools. So Inglewood is the school that I claim. And then from there to Dalewood, which was an elementary school turned middle school. So I stayed for a while and then ended up for a year when they first opened Croft by the zoo.
Oh my God.
So I was
Reggie,
at Croft.
how old are you? I'm like, when they first opened, oh my God. I thought, wait a minute.
Yeah, I was in 7th grade the first year they opened.
Oh my God, Reggie.
Yeah, and then from there I went to Montgomery Bell Academy, which was an opportunity presented to me through an organization called Backfield in Motion. Shout out Backfield. That organization was phenomenal for me and a lot of other people in the city. And from MBA to Vanderbilt undergrad studying economics to Owen Graduate School of Management studying accounting. And I may be going back to school sometime soon. Who knows? I don't know.
Heck yeah. Back to Vandy?
Well, I don't know yet. I don't know yet. I lost my cards. Where'd they go? Lost my cards.
I say, no, we'll get them. But in this last 2 minutes of this first segment, tell me just some of the experiences you had coming from the environment that you grew up in to going to a school like Montgomery Bell to a school like Vanderbilt to being African American in these spaces. And tell me a little bit about that.
It was difficult. So I still to this day say, and I've traveled around the world, say that the biggest culture shock was going from public school to Montgomery Bell Academy.
Heck yeah.
Coming, like at the time, I think we lived in like the park at Hillside, and going just a few miles down the road to MBA was the biggest culture shock. It was hard. People didn't understand the way that I talked, the way that I dressed, the way that I looked, like all of that. It was a challenge. But again, I think that resilience building and the adaptability of knowing how to show up in different environments, still being myself and still being authentic to who I am, but surviving those environments that were difficult. Lot of things that I faced that I don't think many people who didn't get that experience of those both worlds would know about, but it helped shape me to the person I am today. And I think, having that experience at MBA set me up for what I would experience at Vanderbilt. Being a first generation college, student, it was a challenge for a lot of folks. But
and we're going to pick back up on those challenges in our segment. I want to save that for our second segment. And I encourage viewers to tune in to the second segment of Perspectives, where Reggie and I will return to discuss his background, his education, and the work that he does in our local community. To the second segment of the show for today. You are watching Perspectives, and I am host Alana McLaughlin. This morning on the show, I have Reggie D. Ford, public speaker, author, local mental health advocate, here discussing his background, his education, some of the experiences that he has had in our local community, and ultimately ways that he gives back to our local community. In our first segment, we set up Reggie's early childhood and early educational experiences through Montgomery Bell Academy, and we're talking now about that high school, that later adolescent experience leading into his enrollment at Vanderbilt University, and some of the experiences and the work that he did at Vanderbilt or had at Vanderbilt, and ultimately how this has shaped him into the person that he is today. We're coming right back in.
Definitely.
You were just saying you were a first-gen college student.
Yeah.
And you were talking about just kind of how that MBA experience kind of shaped you and really kind of prepared you for being this first-gen student. But tell me, nothing could really prepare you for being a first-generation college student. And tell me about that Vanderbilt experience.
So I think Vanderbilt was an eye-opening experience for a lot of people, but for me, from an academic standpoint, I was prepared because I had rigorous work, like hours and hours and hours of work in high school, to where when it came to that piece, it was taken care of. I think the social part was difficult coming from MBA, because MBA is an all-boys school, and it's like, all right, there are a whole, it's a whole nother set of students here that I'm sitting in the front of lecture halls like this, and but no, it was a fun experience, and I think that the hardest part was trying to get family to understand the dynamics of college and the demand of college. Especially, I ended up walking on to play football at Vanderbilt, and so I played for Bobby Johnson. Shout out to Bobby Johnson and James Franklin. And so with those coaches, I mean, that sport and that being a student athlete and balancing those lives, it was demanding. It took a lot of time. And if I had any free time, I was probably sleeping. And so it was a lot of doing all of that, and then having to understand what the next steps were from freshman to sophomore, all of those steps without the guidance of somebody had done it before. And so I was really just trial by fire, just learning. And I was very inquisitive. I was always been very curious about just what is next. And so I would ask a lot of people, and it'd be great. So yeah, they helped me a lot.
No, and I love how you're just like, you end everything. You have no clue the magnitude of what you do, and you're just like, I just did it, and that stays with me every time you finish talking. That like sticks with me.
That's what's up.
Back to Vanderbilt, man.
Yeah.
Studying econ. Take me through just how you fared.
Ooh,
Tell me about it.
Yeah, econ was fun. So I came into college, honestly, and this is so full circle. I came into college thinking I was going to study psychology.
Really?
Yes, and so like I think just again being curious, I was curious about myself. I was curious about other people. Why do people act and behave the way that they do? And early on, I didn't like to read when it was mandatory. I did not like to read when it was mandatory. I wanted to read some stuff for fun and all of that. And so it was a lot of reading in the early psychology. And so I ended up switching over to economics, which was the closest thing at the time I would say that Vandy had to a business major. And I had always had these entrepreneurial endeavors, and business seemed like the future path for me. And so econ was that. And I got to learn from, one of my first professors, Stephen Buckles, was like the economic advisor to former presidents and things. And it's like, oh my goodness, like I'm getting this type of education, and it was amazing. And so I learned and I loved it, and it was common sense to me. The way that these economic concepts and principles worked was how my brain worked.
Heck yeah.
And so that helped me do well at the major and continue on from there. And so it was great.
And continue on to graduate school, right? And take me through that experience into RoseCrete.
Yeah, so I didn't, again, not having internships, not truly utilizing my network. I didn't have any experience outside of school and football at the time. And so when it came to my senior year, all signs were pointing to you might need to go back to school.
Yeah.
And so I went back, got accepted into Owen Graduate School of Management, and got within a year, like there was an amazing program, the MAC program there. Within a year, you get your master's, you sit and study and hopefully pass the CPA exam, which I did, and have a potential opportunity to work for the Big Four in accounting. So I ended up working at Deloitte for a couple of years, got into wealth management, and then in 2018 started RoseCrete Wealth Management.
Reggie, we got to break this down. We got to break this down. From Deloitte, I got into wealth management. What does that mean?
Yeah, so
for just like the average crazy person? Well, I mean, yeah, we know wealth management. That means me not buying this drink or this hair.
I didn't know what wealth management. I didn't know what wealth was. Again, I grew up in poverty, so like that was foreign to me. And management, I knew a couple of people who were managers, but it wasn't doing the work that I was doing. And so, so for me, I got into Deloitte and I was doing external audit. So we're going into Fortune 500 companies, looking at billions of dollars of transactions and hoping to present that fairly and accurately for the public to be able to rely on. And that was cool, but when you hear the term auditor, right, there's like this bad, exactly. The connotation is like, no. And I felt that from my clients. Even though we were there to serve them, I felt that from my clients. Whereas in wealth management, it was appreciation for the work that I did. Like, you're helping me to build and attain these goals that I have for my financial future. And it was like, okay, I like this. And so it is helping people with their financial lives, helping develop strategies and think through different alternatives and ways in which to hopefully grow, build, sustain their wealth. So.
Reggie, in our final segment, oh God, we're talking about, I want you to, in about a sentence worth, describe to me the inspiration behind RoseCrete, just in a single sentence.
Yes, so RoseCrete derives its name from the rose that grew from a crack in the concrete. Through all the perceived impossibilities, the poor soil, little light, little water, that rose grows. And I saw that as an epitome of my life, and I wanted to celebrate that.
In our final segment, we're talking about RoseCrete, we're talking about TEDx talks. Oh God, we're talking about everything that you do in the community, and I am encouraging everyone who will listen to connect with you and support you. And in our final segment, I don't need to tell y'all why you need to come back. You know why you need to come back. Tune in to hear Reggie Ford discuss his background, his education, the work that he does in our local community, and ultimately ways that we can support him. The final segment of the show for today. You are watching Perspectives, and I am host Alana McLaughlin. I'm here this morning with Reggie D. Ford, local author, public speaker, local mental health advocate, here discussing his background, the work that he does in our local community, and ultimately ways that we can support him. In our first two segments, we just set up Reggie's early life through just some of his early work experiences, through school at Vanderbilt University, and ultimately in this final segment, we're talking about what present day looks like for Reggie, some of the ways that we can connect with him and support him, some of the endeavors endeavors that he's ventured out into, and ultimately just some of the reasoning as to why we should support this person. We just left off talking about RoseCrete Wealth Management. We talked about what is wealth management, and I want you to rehash that and then lead me into the inspiration behind starting RoseCrete and what the heck does RoseCrete do? Yes.
So the inspiration behind it was looking at my life and knowing that, again, the rose that grew from a crack in the concrete, I have attained and done things that probably defy so many odds based on where I started. And I wanted to celebrate that. And I had gained this knowledge around finance, around accounting, around tax, around investments, around insurance, all of those different pieces that go into a person's financial life. And I wanted to help other people. It was all about serving. It was all about service to other people. And so serving other people with the knowledge that I had is what I do in every aspect of my life. And so helping people financially is what it's about.
No, okay, so I'm a person. I'm a regular, say I'm just like this average American. I'm 25. I have a 700 credit score. I have a full-time job, no kids, no debt. How, if I'm coming to you, help me manage my wealth. Like what would you do with a person like me? I don't know who that person is.
Definitely.
But
it's hard. So I can't get into giving advice publicly.
Right.
So nothing that I say is advice. From compliance perspective, I have to look at your like you don't go to a doctor and say give me some medicine and not tell them everything about what is wrong with you or what may be going right. And so I have to just analyze a person's situation, their entire financial history, their psychology behind their wealth or behind their money management, because that's a big role of it, because we have these blocks or we have these financial experiences or experiences connected to our finances that shape the way that we manage money. And so looking and understanding all of those different aspects and then coming up with a plan specifically for an individual to help them achieve the goals that they set out for.
I'm interested in that psychology part because I was just having a conversation. I had a classmate who grew up in poverty, and her big thing is whenever she would get paid, she would never get gas in her car because she always wanted to like save the last dollar.
Interesting.
And I that's what I said. I'm like, sister, I don't know how we're out here with no gas.
Interesting.
But I thought about that, and she just always says on E.
Yeah.
And I'm like, you're working, you're getting paid, but just always on E. And I finally said, like, sister, why are we getting? Do you need gas? She's like, no, I have money. I'm used to saving it, and I'll only put in maybe $5 or $6 and just get where I go because I can't afford to fill up the tank to put 10 in it.
Yeah. Wow.
Wow was my reaction, and that I feel like that's a perfect example of that psychology. But are there any other kind of things that you see that impact people's financial management like that?
Absolutely. So like the scenario that you described sounds like there's a scarcity mindset, and so that will persist no matter if you have $10, $10 million, $10 billion. If you have that mindset and haven't worked through how do you get out of that or thinking about what caused that, then you're likely going to perpetuate that even when the paychecks get bigger and bigger. And then I see that from people who have experienced poverty. But then on the other hand, I also see folks who, because I didn't have it, because I couldn't get the shoes, because I didn't have the nice car, then I'm gonna go out and show you I got it now. And both of those, they have an impact on how you're able to manage your money, how you're able to build wealth. And so it's just about managing and understanding that psychology so that you can then behave in a way that fits your values.
Oh, heck, Reggie. Oh, my God. After this, I don't know. I need a session. Oh, God. I'm just thinking all the ways, I need you to fix my life.
No. There's no fixing that needs to be done.
Oh, man.
No.
But I want to talk about just some of the other resources that you offer people in an effort to kind of elevate their lives. And I want to talk about this book in our hands.
Definitely.
Tell me about this book. This is Perseverance Through Severe Dysfunction. And you take me through this. Tell me about this book.
So Perseverance Through Severe Dysfunction, you see the acronym PTSD. This was a book that was inspired by my life's journey. And I had this very dark period of life where amongst all of the celebrations, the achievements, the accolades, I found myself in extreme grief. I was depressed. I had anxiety and insomnia that really kept me up for like 30 days.
Ooh.
And all of this was surrounding a lot of losses that I had in my life. And so no matter how many achievements that I was gonna get, how many awards I was gonna win, it wasn't going to fill the voids that I was having from that perspective.
Hey.
And so I found myself on a cold hardwood floor, bawling, like in an anxiety attack. And I asked myself in this out-of-body experience, how in the world did you end up here? And it got me to, after that night, I finally got some sleep. I got up, I started, I went out to my PCP, my primary care doctor. I went out to a therapist, grief counselor, and I started to try to better understand me completely, like all of me. And I chronicled a lot of that in this book, from the early childhood to the, successful periods. And I put that in quotations because that's a relative term and it looks different for everybody. But how, I wanted to redefine PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder, as persevering through severe dysfunction, because we can get through it.
And you're right, we can get through it. I mean, just looking at you, you're an embodiment of getting through it.
Thank you.
And in this about last 3 to 4 minutes of this segment, one, I want you to leave kind of a piece of advice for youth who may be watching this, who may be in a similar environment that you grew up in, who may not feel like I could make it, who may not feel like I have resources. I want you to kind of speak to them and speak into them in this moment. And then after that, I want you to plug yourself in and plug in ways that people can connect with you.
Absolutely. So I would say to that person, you're not alone, first and foremost. I did a TEDx where I tell people that you are enough. You are worthy of all the greatest things that life has to offer, and I love you simply for being you. And I don't think our young people hear that enough or feel that enough, because it's not always about what they hear, it's about what they feel. And sometimes we have to dive a little deeper. And so for the young person sitting out there, I would tell you that you can accomplish anything that the world has out there. Your potential is amazing and phenomenal. I have come from a father in prison. I've come from a teenage mother. I come from the gutter. I come from gang affiliations where people wanted me to be affiliated with them, but I couldn't because I was on a different path. I wanted to go down a route that was education, that was success, what that looked like for me. And I wanted to get out and do something different, and that you don't have to be defined by your neighborhood, by your past, by your mistakes, by your trauma, by any of that, that you can do anything that you set your mind to. And so if I can do it, I believe that you can too. And it starts with asking for help. It starts with changing your mindset and saying, I can do it, and surrounding yourself with people that can help you make it happen.
Thank you, Reggie. Everything you've given me chills. Everything you just said, I'm looking at you like, yes, I can. Yes, I can. Thank you, Reggie. In this last about minute of the segment, plug yourself in. Social medias, websites, upcoming events, any way that just anyone can connect with you.
Yeah, so you can connect with me on all platforms at Reggie D. Ford. That's Reggie D as in dog, because I got that dog in me, Ford. And my website is reggiedford.com. I'm available for speaking engagements. I love speaking on mental health and the impacts on our youth, on the impacts from a corporate perspective, on corporate wellness, and how we can help better the environments for all people in our local communities. So
thank you, Reggie, for sharing your time with me. Thank you. I'm a hugger and a toucher, but thank you seriously for the work that you've done. Thank you for that perseverance, and thank you for just kind of being a role model for the youth in our local community. I appreciate you more than you know. And to our viewers, thank you for allowing us the space to share one more perspective. I wish you a good morning.